Welcome to the Blue Cafe. We offer stories of infidelity, betrayal and redemption. Please like and subscribe. Cheers. Now, on to today's story. The growing occurrence of a cheater weaponizing the legal system. Rant. I have seen firsthand and heard so many stories of a cheater weaponizing the legal system as a form of manipulation and also a way to avoid the spouse who discovered the affair. There's very few things lower than a cowardly cheater filing a bogus EPO and lying to the court to further victimize the betrayed spouse by isolating them from their children and taking their money and even property in the process. These events are not unique. When I found out about her affair, her AP dumped her to save his marriage. So she lost both of us at the same time. She did a, probably fake, suicide attempt to manipulate me. I called the police so that she didn't harm herself or others. In the following weeks, twice she phoned the police and accused me of emotional abuse when I didn't agree with her. They came and interviewed us both and then left. She tried to manipulate the kids too. I had to start recording our interactions on my phone so that she wouldn't accuse me of anything else. She also slandered me to everyone who would listen, causing the police to do a dawn raid on our property and confiscate every computer, tablet and phone. I was interviewed at the police station but never charged with anything. I was also suspended from work during their investigation. I was told to leave the house for the week too. That was without a doubt the worst week of my life. I was cleared of any wrongdoing and reinstated at work, and the work suspension was removed from my record. What occurred to me is the vast amount of the police's and my employer's time and money wasted by my ex's baseless accusations after she cheated on me. It's sickening. Stories like this make me sick. Sorry to hear this happened to you. During my parents' divorce, which was over a 6-year period, my father's family, my dad was the cheater, accused my then stepfather of child abuse. We were taken from our home for a week and interviewed. No, he wasn't BTW. I'm pretty sure they accused mum of physically abusing as well. It was bloody traumatic, and I grew up too soon from all these types of incidents. We had incidents of kidnapping where one Christmas my father didn't return us home. They had joint custody, but lived with our mother, and enrolled us in school in another state. My uncle had to kidnap us back weeks later during school hours. One year my father called my mother and told her we wouldn't get Santa on Christmas morning if she didn't send money. She was a broke single mother at the time, and our half-brothers and stepsister, on dad's side, would, and we'd watch them open them whilst we would get none. Who the hell does that to kids? My sister went to go on a trip overseas with my grandparents, and my father blocked her passport so she couldn't go. No reason other than to use it as a bartering tool to manipulate my mother. Their divorce antics cost them tens of thousands of dollars in legal costs, which neither of them really had. I hate cheaters with a passion. Cheaters who use tactics like you described deserve their own place in hell. They destroy people and their children in the process. Whoa dude, why did you decide to continue living with her after you filed? Fortunately, you escaped all these false allegations, but you could have been easily charged and ruined your case. So why did you keep staying with her? Also, how did you manage? I am assuming a separate bedroom, but how about cooking meals for months on? How do you even interact with children? When I confronted, we lived in separate bedrooms until we could make other arrangements. We had a 3-story townhouse and a bonus room above our double garage at the end of the garden. She moved into there for a couple of months, so she could still be around the kids while we sorted out the divorce. After a few months she met a new guy and moved in with him. When she was still around, we agreed to give the other space when they were with the kids. If she hadn't been narcissistic and vindictive, it would have been okay. My ex tried this, but she's not exactly the sharpest tool in the shed. She had me served with an order of protection, but when I read it I found she had cited police reports that literally contradicted her claims. She accused me of assault, stalking, and breaking and entering coupled with theft. The hearing when I challenged it did not go well for her, and she was caught lying in court and trying to coach her mom while testifying against me. Needless to say, the judge threw the case out the window. She accused me of child abuse 2 months later and petitioned the court to take my kids away from me. I'll give you guys 3 guesses how that went for her. By the way, I write this as I watch my sons play video games in my living room after coming back from the pool. Oh man. My STBX is likely going to use the same playbook. How did you protected yourself from false child abuse charges? Do judges just throw these things out? Shouldn't be there any fines or jail time for lying? I learned very quickly to document everything and get the police reports. She called the police on me so many times I started knowing a few of them by first name. She even got a detective involved investigating her claims of domestic violence, but fortunately by then I'd had enough evidence of her bullshit piled up and enough cops showing up at my door that they called her out and arrested her, but even that didn't stop her shit. She'd been admonished so many times another detective had to testify at our trial and it's still ongoing. So my advice to you is document everything and lawyer up. But what do you mean when you say document? Do you create Microsoft Word files or write your journal? Is that even admissible in court? No. I mean start collecting documents. Photos. Videos. Take screenshots of messages, emails, pretty much everything you have to protect yourself. When she accused me of stalking her, I was at a party and verified it using pics and the digital timestamp. She saw me pulling into a gas station another time and accused me of following her and harassing her, but I had literally sent a buddy of mine messages I was pulling into the gas station to check on my front lamp, then messaged him I saw her and she was following me when I drove away. That was just stupid luck, but still. The legal system doesn't care about what he said, she said. It's a literal waste of their time. They operate on hard evidence, so make sure you have anything and everything to back up anything you say. This is my greatest fear. She's very good at manipulating authority. I called 911 on her one time because she threatened suicide one too many times. Rather than being held for treatment, she came home the next day. My statements to the EMS team meant nothing if she convinced the docs she wasn't suicidal. Meanwhile, I asked to go to the hospital during my breakdown and told the truth and was sent to rehab for 7 days. Best thing to ever happen to me, but my STBX is highly resistant to mental health treatment. I know she had a trove of photos of her injuries from various drunken falls that she will try to pin on me the minute she gets served. But I'm doing it anyway. I can't live like this. God, that's awful, man. Document everything you do. Email an attorney so it's time-stamped and can be cross-referenced with any photo that's claimed. We have this bizarre thing where we view one demographic as weak and everyone is sympathetic to and is told to believe them with zero proof required. I'll tell you one from me and one I was just sent from another friend. My ex and her AP knew I had seen them. Her AP convinced her to call the police and then file an EPO despite no confrontation conversation threat from me. She dropped it a few weeks later in court, but that would have ruined my life. The other was a guy that had 4 kids with his wife. Found out she was cheating on him and is now pregnant with the other man's baby, and she filed EPO against him. He is broken. Sick of that. Do you know what your lawyer would say if you had one? Run while you are not yet in a cell. And I tell you very seriously, get out of there now. From the moment a woman begins to document injuries, the police, the sentence and the cellmates are getting closer and closer. And after that, the list of sex offenders, the prohibition to go to certain places. Nobody will want to give you a job. Your credit non-existent. Your property and savings disappeared, etc. Run now that you can, and I mean physically, not only legally. Change your city, state or country, but physically move away from her. I agree with running away from these women, but how do you do that if you had kids? Exactly. I'm documenting the kids lives with me and will ask for home evaluations and so on. She never calls to talk to them. And they've stopped asking about her. They are used to her leaving without goodbyes. It's quite sad, but I'm doing my best to keep them happy. I am not a lawyer in your country, but first please lawyer up. In this game the dice are loaded for one part. Do not go unarmed or with a knife to a gunfight. From what I understand, she does not live with you. Well, that works in your favor. Then you can see self-protection actions such as security cameras or nanny cameras, which is valid since you have younger children. And in general they are cheaper. Tape. Document all interactions and whenever possible. Beg or promise sexual favors if necessary. You get witness if she wants to appear in your home. But seriously, lawyer up. Lawyered and private investigator up. Rest assured. Google Drive full of evidence. Check. File safe containing physical evidence. Check. Cameras. Check. Recording all phone calls. Check. Voice activated recorder. Check. Though still waiting for it to arrive in the mail. I got my bases covered, dude. will not be having sex with this woman ever again. She's having an affair. You think I want sloppy seconds or to provide cover for the child she wants with the AP? Duck that. Also at this point sexual contact might provide evidence of condonation. So no for that reason. 2. Finally, I don't need hysterical bonding after years of narcissistic abuse. My mind needs to be clear of that fog. What do you want me to tell you? You are better prepared and equipped than 99% of the men I know. Bravo. Hug your children a lot. If you have that blessing, that will give you more strength every day. PS sex with the cheater ex. I have never or will I recommend that auto-degradation and biohazard act. What I said was that if the ex is going to show up and you can't help but interact in person, flesh and blood witnesses would be the ideal proof and deterrent. If to get those witnesses you need to do or promise sexual favors or give your body to science, then you do it. To that your lawyer would probably ask, what will happen to your children when the police book you, when the prosecutor ponders charges, and when a search for your name in Google by any potential employer, what they will see in 8 of the first 10 links is that you are a woman beater. All this before even charges are filed against you or it is proven that the injuries were self-inflicted by your wife. PS sorry. Regarding the children, at first you only communicate with them electronically and then you start to send them money to an account at their name in a bank from which a responsible adult or your lawyer can withdraw. All with receipts. How to act preventively against a threat of false complaint for domestic violence is up to the lawyer you choose before or after leaving. And from that point it becomes darker. Do you really think this is new or what is a growing reality? It has been this way for long. What happens is that it is done so massively and abusively by the cheaters and most of the police and judges that it is simply ridiculously evident already. Where I am from 10 years ago, complaints of sexual abuse of minors by the father increased by 300% in the public prosecutor's offices, a terrifying figure that the politicians of the left, sorry, it is not political, it is reality, was left politicians not of the right, and some feminist organizations shouted in the sky against violent hetero men etc etc. The end result was that in lawsuits based on a new divorce law, more than half of them had these false allegations in order to legally create the element guilt to blackmail an economic solution more favorable to the wives or only more harmful to the husbands. Family judges are not at fault. They have the obligation to formally notify the prosecution the complaint of the crime in the exercise of their functions, even if they do not believe a word. And prosecutors simply don't prosecute false accusers for lack of time and political inclination. Women don't lie and such. 31 plus years ago it happened, but not all too often. 20 years ago it was expected more. 10 years ago the courts just accepted it as part of the routine. 3 years ago it was promoted as the mandatory thing to do. I hate this world. No, I don't think it's new, but this place will ban you or delete things for the slightest insinuation despite it being true, so I'm trying to play it safe. Because it's not the purpose of this sub. This is a place for individual healing due to betrayal trauma, not to rail on the system. There are plenty of other subreddits for that. You're right. In the lack of relevance in this sub, I believe the trend has gone up to a whole new level. The internet is full of articles advising women on how to get 100% custody. All articles tend to demonize men as abuser and controlling, where everything done to them is fair game, including depriving them from their own children. These articles lay out all the tricks. Some even explain in wink wink how to create browsers with household accessories. Call your friend while having fake arguments with your spouse so there is witness, and secretly record the spouse while starting an argument on purpose so they can claim emotional abuse. Many states admit even the perceived threat of violence in exactly the same way as actual violence. For example, if you hit the feast on the table, then it can be considered as intent for violence and may qualify for DV. If you touched your spouse inadvertently at all, even the slightest, that could literally be enough for a call to cops for domestic violence. There are women organizations proposing that the verbal arguments should be treated no different than emotional abuse, and therefore just merely arguing with your spouse can qualify as an act of domestic violence. There is no real definition of domestic violence, and so nothing is off the table. The internet is full of podcasts that advise many ethical women to do this during divorce to strengthen their case, because this is apparently the same as fighting for women's rights. They demonize all men as abusers. Apparently, men are supposed to have thick skin anyway, and they should feel nothing when getting falsely charged, losing their ability to find jobs, losing their life's work, their house and even their own children. You are talking exactly about my cheating wife. She told me on my face that she will harm herself and bring on a domestic violence case if I tried to have any custody. She has an array of mental health issues and a mountain of paranoia. Amazingly large number of women are using this line of attack to deprive men from custody, especially when women get caught in an affair and have been planning to relocate with AP, which otherwise can be prevented by the father. What is worse is that it gets used far more by women who chose to stay at home. They essentially keep kids as hostages to get the house by claiming to be primary parent, get child support, alimony while they still spend the majority of their time with AP. My wife told another woman in a secret chat that men are supposed to be used. Men are strong so they can take all the abuse while women are fragile and need to be taken care of. Men should go to work like hunters and she will sit at home like gatherers. She thinks that men should not interfere in child raising. They should just play with them a little bit and then they should go back hunting. She literally believes all this shit. She used to refer to me as provider. Now she is in a neck-deep affair where she has decided to be a submissive for a random dude on the internet. She blames me for her having affairs. She thinks it's her right to have connections with other men and I should just suck it up. She hasn't worked a day in our 2 decades of marriage. I know you're thinking how I ended up with this piece of work. It's a long story for some other time, but as they say, you will never know the person you got married with until you divorce them. I think we have enough evidence to show the destruction it causes without a father in the picture. The idea that men have no say in raising children is insanity and toxic nonsense, as women cannot model what it is to be a man as they are not men. You will never know the person you got married to until you divorce them. So true. Who I thought my wife was before D-Day compared to after D-Day. She has been a nightmare and not at all who she portrayed herself to be. That's the embodiment of a con artist. Pathological liars filled with entitlement. I have the same amount of custody as my ex-wife. I have an average job that doesn't pay much right now, yet she has the ability to work more than she does, but she just doesn't want to, so I outrageously have to pay this person for her laziness. I shouldn't be surprised considering that was most of our marriage, the pressure and stress of working my butt off with no financial help from this person who had an abundance of entitlement. This is why men should be very selective about marriage. I'm reading a book titled Splitting and would recommend it to anyone in the process of separation or divorce from a cheating spouse. The book explains the common ways that people with personality disorders, NPD or BPD, manipulate the legal process. No doubt this applies to a lot of cheaters as well, because so many have disordered traits. The saying goes, hope for the best but plan for the worst, and with this book I feel better prepared for any future bullshit in my own divorce. Get used to it, guys. You see more and more false domestic violence and false rape claims occurring all the time, all with no consequences apart from destroying a male's life. Women blame men for not showing or believing the stories about rape or violence when they should be blaming these horrible, disgusting women that do this. Any male or female convicted of rape or violence should be locked up, but any woman who makes these fake reports should be locked up as well. There is a growing number of young men getting a vasectomy and concentrating on career and not interested in relationships. Women ask where all the good guys are. They got cheated on and had false claims made, so they gave up on relationships. We hope you have enjoyed today's episode. Please like and subscribe. Cheers. Have a wonderful day or night, wherever you are.